Anthony Hartwig here as YSN continues its series Legends of the Past. Today I am joined with Crestview legend Chelsea Bowker. Chelsea, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Class of 2009. It's been a minute, but you are still one of the best basketball players to ever walk the halls of Crestview. What are some of your memories from being a part of that program and your days at Crestview?
I look back when I was a kid. Well, I mean, we really were kids, but man, we were good. And we were the top dogs a lot of the times. And I look back at our league too. Our league was really good. Um, United, South Range. I mean, we were all contenders all the time. Columbiana. I mean, I can't tell you how many double over, triple overtime games we went into. Lisbon. Um, I can name you many, many players that I played against that went some type of higher level basketball. Um, so it was definitely an honor playing against them. And then just to come out of Crestview being the top scorer in the for boys and girls and in the county. And still 10 years later, 11 years later, it's still standing. So, I mean, it definitely is an honor.
You know, so many players get 1,000 points nowadays. It seems like it's happening more and more often. You took it to the next level. You got 2,000. First, talk about what it was like getting that 1,000-point barrier, and when did you kind of know that you could get 2,000?
I definitely, when you look back, a lot of my second 1,000 points came my senior year. I had like 700 and some my senior year. I guess when I was a freshman, I didn't take it as seriously, and I maybe could have had more points. But when I actually was home this past weekend, because I live in New York now, and school's been out, and me and my mom were cleaning out, and we found a bunch of my high school tapes, and we were actually watching the game where I scored my first 1,000. And just to look back, you're so little, you have no idea what's going on. 1,000 points is a huge deal. And I look back and I'm like, wow, I hit 2,000. And then when I get to college, I mean, everyone's goal is to score 1,000 in high school and in college. I mean, that's everyone's goal. And it was obviously, you probably already know, but I was 12 points short of 1,000 at a Division I college. 12 points. And I look at high school and I scored 2,000. So just to put it in perspective of the different levels and what comes with it and which one's easier, which one's a little harder. And then when I look back in high school, when I scored 2,000, I really wasn't an outside shooter. In college, I was a 3-point shooter, and in high school, I really had a whole inside game.
I don't know when the last time you've been to Crestview was, but can't walk the hallway without looking up and seeing that your name on that top scorer plaque right before the gym. When you kind of see that, what's that kind of like for you and the pride that it kind of gives you?
It's definitely awesome. And I remember when I first scored my first 1,000, my volleyball coach, Alicia Auer, she was, I always reminded her that I was gunning for her record. And just to see that list and see me at the top, and especially, I mean, it's the top of the boys list too. And I mean, that's not the only record up there, and I don't want to sound conceited or anything, but I put everything into basketball, weekends, nights. I mean, after a game and I shot bad and we won, I was still in the gym after game time, getting shots up. And so, I mean, it's awesome to see my name up there, and I hope someday I will be in Crestview's Hall of Fame. I definitely, that's my next goal.
So I was a freshman when you graduated, so I only got to see you for 1 year. But one of the things I really remember about you is you were such an emotional player, where you're always emotion on the sleeves. Did you carry that over into college, and is that something that really drove you?
Absolutely, and I am still that way. I just turned 29, and we play. I play in a Macker every year, and I'm still emotional. When I play backyard basketball, I'm still emotional. I don't care if you're 28 or if you're 5, I'm gonna beat you. And I look back in some of my videos, and I was a head case, and I was driven by emotion. In college, I was driven by emotion. And my college coach, he'll tell you the same thing. And that's what he loved about me. I wasn't the fastest, and but I wanted it, and I wanted people to know I wanted it. And I'm my high school girls basketball coach here in Olean, and this past season, we didn't have the best season, and we were getting ready for tournaments. And when it's tournament time, I kind of lace up and play the best player on the other team. And my girls were like, Coach, you're going so hard, and look how good you are. And I stopped and I said, I don't care how old you are. I'm going to beat you because I want it. So my girl, I mean, no matter what I'm doing, I still have that emotion. I mean, even in the backyard, like I said, I still have that emotion, and that's how I play. And that's what made me good.
Where do you think you got that drive for competitiveness? Did it start at an early age, or did you kind of pick it up when you got older?
I definitely started at an early age. I definitely got that from my father. My dad, Corey, was my coach. My mom helped him out too, but they were my AAU coaches all through. And my dad is still and was an in-your-face guy, but only to me. I have 3 other sisters, and I can remember one AAU practice. I was dogging it. I mean, I was out in front of everybody, but I wasn't going fast enough. And my dad let me know. I definitely flew across the floor a couple times, couple balls thrown at my face. He's definitely full of emotion, but he only wanted the best. So I definitely get it from him. And like I said, it's still that way. We can play a ping pong game down in the basement, and it's cutthroat. So it was definitely picked up from him.
Your sisters, as you said, they played basketball too. What was it like kind of seeing them kind of, advance in that legacy and keep the Bowker name in Crestview?
As you know, I had a twin who played right alongside with me. She obviously was kind of overshadowed, and now I look back and it was like, oh man. But my little sister Sydney, she was definitely a riot to watch too. She was definitely an emotional player. And she was definitely decent and average, and she definitely made a difference for her team. So everybody always said, when is the Bowkers going to end? They just keep coming. But they finally came to an end, so it was just nice to watch them go through too.
I don't think Mr. B ever got tired of saying that name, because I bet he said Chelsea Bowker more than he said any other name at Crestview.
Mr. B, gotta love him. I mean, I came home for the alumni game this past year, and I think I had like 9 threes. And I mean, all he does is say your name over and over again, and it never gets old to hear it either. He takes great pride in what he does, and he's awesome.
When you have someone like that that's kind of giving you play-by-play for the game over the loudspeaker, does that feed into the energy too?
Honestly, you don't even hear him. Like obviously, like you said, I was an emotional player, and I would get the fans riled up, but I never heard what was coming at me. I just played by who was in the stands. But honestly, I mean, even the coaches, you just learn to block it out. So, but like going back and hearing tapes and stuff like that, you're like, dang, they were really giving it to you. But honestly, I'm so into the game, you don't even hear it.
Now, you talked about how competitive the area was when you went here. United and Roger Ziegler had a great program.
Absolutely.
South Range had a great program. Autumn Carter, the Cell Girls.
Lisbon. Emily Smith, Simmons, all of them.
How much do you think that prepared you for going up against the next level, and knowing that even in high school you had to go and give it your best every game?
I honestly do think it definitely prepared me for what I was going into. Obviously, it's a whole nother level. My freshman year, I gained a lot of weight. They pack on muscle. The conditioning is nuts. You work out 3 times a day. But being able to play in such a tough league really gets you prepared for that next level. And like I said, a lot changes when you go from one level to the next, but just to be able to be a versatile player against good players. Like when I was in high school, I guarded post, but I wasn't a post. And that transformed into college too. I was a shooting guard and guarded post in college. So just being able to, and plus I was on varsity since I was a freshman. So that really helped too, being able to be a little dog playing with all the big kids.
Now, lately at YSN, we've been talking about local rivalries and how good they are and some of the deep ones. Who are some players and some teams that you really, really liked going up against at Crestview, and it really, got you down deep, and you really put your all out on the court when you knew you weren't up against this team or this player?
It was definitely Columbiana. and definitely United. Columbiana and United were definitely the top two schools that really what could get under your skin no matter what. One year it was Lisbon, just because they had two really good players. But I have to say, um, Rochelle took over at Columbiana, and him and my high school coach, she used to play for him, so that even made it 10 times better. And then obviously Coach Ziegler, we go way back, and we go back even like with my parents with him and AAU. So definitely, and they were good players. They had really good kids, and their programs were great. So I mean, I can remember a game in Columbiana going into double overtime. I can remember right off the top of my head. It's like I was a freshman. Like I can remember to the specific details games against Columbiana and United.
Talk about your high school coach and what kind of things he let you grow between freshman and senior year in high school, and maybe how that helped you going forward into college.
Coach Simeon always trusted me. She listened. That was probably the biggest part. She listened to me. I wasn't just a kid. I was an athlete, and she knew that I knew the game. And that's I think that's what really helped me in college. And like I said, even my coach, even Coach Crowley from St. Bonaventure, he'll tell you, that's why I played. I wasn't the strongest kid out there. I wasn't the fastest kid out there. I wasn't the biggest kid out there, but I knew what to do and when to do it. I always knew what was next. And Coach Simeon let me develop that by giving me trust and letting me lead the team and do what I needed to do in high school. I mean, she could tell me one thing and I'd go down the court and call something different just because I could read the defense before she could yell something. You know what I mean? So definitely her having that trust in me. And like I said, coach played I think she played at YSU. I don't know if they were D1 then or whatever they were then, but she played college ball too. So she had that grit, and she was definitely an in-your-face coach too. So that really got me. She didn't let me dog it. She knew what it would take, and she knew that I was going to be able to play at that level. So she never let me fall behind.
This year, Crestview got back to a district championship for the first time in quite a while. What is it like for you to see that program kind of get back to its success and get back to its glory?
It's really great, and it's kind of funny. I look back when I left high school. I never wanted them to do bad. Like you always want to see your program do good. You want to see it continue. That's why you play the game. You want to build that name. It's never for one single person. It's always for that Crestview name. So it's really nice. I mean, and I even look back at volleyball. I mean, I loved volleyball in high school. If I would have went volleyball for college, my dad probably would have disowned me. But I love the game of volleyball too, and they're always good. And Coach Hour's amazing, and you still got Gregory out there. And so just to see them keep doing well, you know that you had great people that know the game teaching you what you now love. And like I said, now I am taking what they taught me and giving it to kids that I get to coach now.
You talked about your time with the volleyball team, and that's a successful program. It's been a successful program. Never really had a down stretch. Coach Howard does a great job. What was it like getting coached by her?
Me and Coach Hour, I had great relationships with both my coaches, but they will tell you I always brought the best out in them, and not always in a good way. But like I said, they never treated me as just a kid. They treated me as an athlete that knew what I was talking about. They trusted me. And she was a go-getter too. She would bounce balls off our faces, and not easy. She's an animal. And just to look back, and I mean, I had really good coaches when I played. I mean, I had my dad since I was little, my dad and my mom since I was little. They coached me in AAU every year. And then I had Coach Simeon, who played college ball, and I had Coach Hour, who played college volleyball. So you can't get coached by any better people. And it speaks a lot for them, especially to have that program keeping the volleyball program to keep being successful like it is.
Let's talk about your recruitment process. What was it like, and why did you choose St. Bonaventure?
I can remember sophomore year. It was sophomore year. I saw Coach Simeon. She was our gym teacher. She was the basketball coach, but our gym teacher. And I can remember seeing her jumping in the hallway outside my geometry class. And Mrs. McKee was her name. She went to the door and asked, and she has to talk to me. And I got my first letter from UCLA. Um, and I mean, that day's imprinted in your head forever. I'm going to get choked up talking about it. But letters left and right, emails, phone calls, official visits, team camps, they just keep coming. I never applied to one school. I narrowed it down to 3 schools actually. Murray State was one. Obviously Murray State sounds familiar because they just had a stud come out of there. It was beautiful, and that probably would have been my number 1 pick, but I didn't want to live that far away from home. I did go out there for an official visit, went to a football game. So that was my number 1 school. St. Bonaventure was my number 2 school. I went to St. Bonaventure a couple times just because it was nice and close. And then the 3rd school, which my parents really wanted me to go to, and I was heavily recruited, was the Naval Academy. But I wasn't interested. I mean, it sounds bad, but as a 17-year-old kid, you're not really 16, 15-year-old kid, you're not really looking back to giving in the service at that moment. But I went down there twice, actually. I went down to the Naval Academy twice, Murray State once, and St. Bonaventure. I was up here a lot for games. We traveled to Wisconsin to watch them play in the WNIT. I mean, we were all over the place following Bonaventure. And one day, Coach Fleming, who is now the coach right now for Bonaventure, Coach Crowley, has moved to Providence. But he called me, and I didn't even talk it over with my parents. It kind of just felt right. I was standing in the front yard, and I said, Coach, I'm coming to play for you. And then afterwards, I went and told my parents, and that's how it went. And it's like I said, I'm still here. I live in Olean, New York. I've been here. So I was here in 10. So I've been here 10 years now. I actually bought a house here. Once you're part of this community, it sucks you in. You can't leave. It's called, Bonaventure, they live and die basketball here. The community does, and they're very close-knit. And anybody will tell you, you will get sucked in, and it does happen.
Now, we've been talking about also for the last couple of weeks at YSN, the recruitment of people that go to smaller schools, and Crestview's a smaller school. Did you ever think that maybe if you put up the same numbers you did and went to a bigger school, you could have maybe gotten a little bit more attention? Or do you think you did the best job you could have done no matter where you were at getting yourself out there and getting college eyes at you?
I definitely think it all depends on you, especially with AAU these days and videos and stuff. And I probably could have did a little bit more if I was at a bigger school. I probably could have. But my parents and my coaches did a great job. They were really good advocators. But we got ourselves into big AAU tournaments. That's really what'll get you out there. And that's how they see you. That's how I was seen, was AAU. It wasn't even through Crestview basketball. So even like kids these days, like the kids on my basketball team, that's how I tell them, like, you're not going to be seen high school basketball unless you're LeBron James's son. You're not going to be seen playing high school ball. You're going to be seen playing AAU because that's where all these coaches go and look for, unless they get a bug in the ear. Hey, you got to check this girl out.
Now, you were part of St. Bonaventure's first trip to the NCAA tournament. What was that experience like?
It was absolutely awesome. It's definitely a dream every kid has, watching and playing sports for your whole life. Like, when I went to Bonaventure, did I ever think I'd end up in the NCAA tournament? Nope. And not only did we end up in the tournament, we went to the Sweet 16.
Right.
I have a huge ring to show for it. We played Notre Dame. We played Muffet McGraw. I shook Skylar Diggins' hand. And it sounds like I'm a little kid right now. Like, this is what I did. She's in the WNBA right now. I played against Elena Deladon. I have my picture with Brianna Stewart. We sat in a Hall of Fame dinner with Gino Ariema. These are all the things I got to do by playing basketball. We played UConn on UConn's floor. I guarded Brianna Stewart. It's mind-blowing once you look down, and I'm like giddy and stuff, but this is what you dream about when you're a kid.
Yeah, you said it. It's everyone's dream to if you can't play for UConn, then you're going to dream of playing them. And what was what was that atmosphere like playing at UConn and kind of taking that in and seeing the support they get for women's basketball, and that's kind of the atmosphere around women's basketball in that place.
And we're just a little, we're just little St. Bonaventure. I mean, we're not little, we're Division I, but we're little compared to your Notre Dames and your Stanfords. And I mean, all you do is watch these people on TV, and now you're lining up on the court against them. I mean, to start against UConn and a Division I game on UConn's court, playing against Gino Ariema, I mean, there's no words to express it. I mean, we got beat by 40, but I mean, we won that game. Like, that's how we felt after the game. Like, we just played UConn. I mean, the girls are walking out of the locker room, and I'm asking Brianna Stewart for a picture. I mean, and when we played down there, we went to a Hall of Fame dinner, and there was like 4 different teams, but you got to mingle with all the coaches, the players. I got my picture with Gino. And like I said, it's just things you dream about. And I mean, when I was like, for example, when we were in the Sweet 16, we were coming out from halftime, down 40 to Notre Dame. In Maryland women's coach walks out of the locker room and gives us all high fives and says, "Keep your guys' heads up. You're doing great." Like, it's just, I mean, it's unbelievable. And I mean, the only other thing that could have ever made it better was to play Tennessee and see Pat Summitt. But that's about it. I mean, I've played the best players in the WNBA.
Talk about watching Selection Sunday and the CNC Bonaventure pop up on ESPN. That had to be one of the best moments ever.
Sobbing, crying. I'm going to cry about it, talking about it right now. It's just, the feeling is so surreal. And no one can ever take that away. Now I'm all crying. But it's definitely emotional, and you're on a high. And when you see it, you're like a celebrity. We had a cameraman following us around. You stay in the best hotels. Our families all come. They stay with us the whole week. We traveled the country. And like I said, we got to go 3 games deep. It's not like we just played in 1 game. So it's definitely, the feeling was surreal.
Now, who were the 2 teams you beat in the first round and the second round?
We beat Florida Gulf Coast, and we beat Marist.
So I'm guessing the seeds wise, I mean, that had to be still an upset, right? At Florida Gulf Coast against St. Bonaventure.
Yeah.
So what was it like? Kind of, it's surreal. Not just we won a game, but hey, we just won 2 games and we're going to the Sweet 16. I mean, that's got to be just an amazing kind of adrenaline rush.
It really was an adrenaline rush. And like, when you're in the moment, you're like, we don't even care if we win the next game. And then you win and you're like, all right, we want to play again. And then you're there and you're like, who cares? Who cares if we win? Like, we're here. And then we got to Notre Dame in the Sweet 16. And then it kind of becomes surreal when it comes real. It comes reality real quick when you're in the locker room down by 40. But the thing is then back in your mind, you're like, we made it. Like, we're 16 teams. So it definitely becomes real quick.
So I'm guessing you probably had some thoughts when Muffet McGraw stepped down at Notre Dame earlier this month, right?
Yes. I have very mixed feelings.
You as a coach now that you've kind of taken that, you've taken your career, you've put away in your memories, and now you get to grow the game from a coaching perspective. What kind of lessons do you take from your previous coaches in high school and in college in coaching now?
Everything. That's why I wanted to become a coach. I had great coaches, like I said earlier. And I can't imagine wanting to coach having bad ones. They are the reason you want to coach. Because it's more than just the love of the game. You can love the game and still not want to coach. Coaches can make or break you. They really can. And I can't say enough about my basketball and volleyball coaches in high school. I'm still in contact with them every day, or not every day. Every once in a while, I contact them. Like when I went home and I saw my video, I sent Coach Simeone a video and was like always yelling at me. And I mean, right back. Coach Crowley, who's now in Providence coaching the Big East, like he's big time. I can shoot him a text and he'll call me within 2 minutes. I mean, I just can't say enough. In the lessons they have taught me, they've developed me into a coach without knowing it.
What was your favorite off the court memory at Crestview, and things that kind of made you proud that you went to Crestview and you got to represent that school for 4 years?
Um, do you want it to do with basketball or not with basketball?
Any off the court, anything, anything about that school that really drives home and really sticks in your memory bank.
It definitely is just the people. Definitely the people of Crestview. Um, I mean, when I go home, you can't go anywhere without anybody not knowing you. Um, so I mean, you stick with them, and people still reach out. Um, but it's definitely the people, and it's just the simplicity of what it was. I'm not going to say I'm actually living in city life, but I can reach over and touch the next house through my window. Where at home I lived on a farm with 6 acres, and all you did was have bonfires and um, play sports. And it's definitely the people. They live and die sports at Crestview, and that's definitely what I take most.
Now you got to play your senior year, and the seniors right now they're going through it, especially the spring sports seniors. I can't imagine what you would have to go through if someone took away your senior year. What kind of
Uh,
advice? What kind of advice do you give to the seniors of class of 2020 right now?
I know it's hard. And obviously I don't know personally because I got my senior year, but when the news came out, I cried. Um, I got to play my basketball season, coach my basketball season for my girls, and I couldn't imagine it being taken away from them. But there's a reason. Everything happens for a reason. Um, and a lot of kids here are pretty bummed about it, but there's a special message that goes around, and I tell a lot of my athletes, and I actually heard it from one of the best teachers I've ever had at Crestview. Her name was Miss Patterson, and it's called "Are you a coffee bean, a carrot, or an egg?" You ever hear of it?
No.
You gotta look it up. I'll give you a little snippet, but it's definitely guided me through my life, and it's definitely what I would tell athletes. And I told one of my friends up here, one of my really good friends, best friends up here, and she actually passed a book on to a spring sport athlete who's having a really hard time. And it's about which one would you be if you were put in a thing of hot water? Would you be a carrot, an egg, or a coffee bean? And I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but it's definitely what I would tell them. If I could speak to them, I would tell them the story or have them read it and choose what they want to be. Everything happens for a reason.
I think the biggest scope of impact of the sports in this area was watching West Branch take the floor for a state semifinal game, warm up, and then be told that the game and the tournament was canceled, and they had to kind of pack their bags and go back home from Columbus. And that's just it was heartbreaking because all the work they put in to kind of get there, and then they're told you got to go home.
And Olean has a very good basketball program. The boys are spectacular too, and they were actually supposed to have a down year. Their coach forever retired, Mr. Anastasia, and they were supposed to have a down year, and they rallied together and made it to the state championship, and they weren't able to play for it. And just to see the devastation on the kid's face and being an athlete and being able to play in that moment, like that's what you work all year for, you definitely feel for them. And I heard something last time, like you want to say, oh, it's going to be okay. It's not going to be okay. And I can tell every athlete that didn't get their season, yeah, it really stinks. And there's nothing that's going to take that hurt away. You're just going to have to get through it.
Well, let's have some fun with you before we let you go, because I ask every interviewee this. Quarantine has kept us in the house for the last couple of weeks. What has been your favorite in-home quarantine activity?
I actually, so I'm a school teacher, so I've had to do a lot of schoolwork inside, but my other activity I've got hooked on is, let me actually get it. I can show it to you. During quarantine, I got to go home for a month, and I'm actually going to head back, but I came back to get some school stuff. My sisters, I have 3 sisters, and we get to hang out 24/7 since we're not in quarantine, and I never get to see them. So they got me addicted to paint by dot. Paint by diamond is what it's called. So here's my paint by diamond project. They're
Wow.
pictures. And if you get really close, these are all little gems, and they follow a grid. So this is so my next one is a Converse shoe. So that's my guilty pleasure during quarantine right now.
So I'm guessing it's kind of along the lines of paint by numbers, right? Where a certain gem is the color, and you just kind of follow the instructions and end up
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was great to catch up with you. You're one of the players that YSN wishes they were around when we got to cover you. But we're here now and doing all that we can now. But it's great to catch up with you. Thanks for your time, and we look to hear from you again real soon.
Well, thank you. Thank you for reaching out.